world content is the great unifier, right? World content is everyone does it. Everyone does it. It's where everyone is because they want to funnel everyone into the world. And I think that's fine enough and fair to do. And I don't know if there's any solution because you turn around and go...
Well, the thing is, everyone does it, but nobody knows what it is. What is world content? Doing stuff in the world. What does that mean? Well, it doesn't seem to mean combat in any sort of, meaningful sense of the word. It's flim-flam. It's blah. It's stuff.
In the MMO context, it's getting to the rare just before it dies and pressing the button.
There you go.
If you're lucky. Sometimes it's later. Sometimes it's later.
Yeah, that's a knock at WoW. It's just that's. I mean, it is a knock at WoW, but it's just sort of the way that things have developed naturally, and maybe that's
it's not
why
their
whenever.
Fault, to put it that way.
In a way, yeah, and maybe that's why whenever people see this, that they're just kind of like, another island's another thing, because you've got no real belief that the island will be anything other than a slightly different looking place to do the exact same thing. We'll be like, this will be like the Isle of Dorne, but it looks a bit like Arizona. Whereas the bits that you like about the island are where it feels more unique, different, like they've sort of tried to cook things up.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of interesting because I will talk about why I like it, even though I tend not to enjoy most world content beyond the novelty aspect of it. And to be fair, I don't think I could sit and play this forever and ever because I'm basically, after like 3 or 4 hours today, I was like, okay, I've seen all the island I'm probably going to want to see. Maybe I'll come do some weeklies for maybe one of the rewards or two, maybe, but that's basically it. I'll come back for the ring upgrade, maybe, theoretically. I don't need it. And I don't care about killing like the heroic of the next boss, or the next season, rather. I won't be too interested in killing that immediately. I'm like, okay, well, I don't mind waiting to get something that's better than the circlet from heroic.
Yeah.
I don't need to be, as strong as humanly possible.
But if you don't turn up to our raid night completely optimal in day one, we will have to kill you.
If that's the case, then everyone else in the guild should also die.
That's also true.
Yeah, except for one person.
Me especially.
Oh yeah, at least you weren't 6'10" for the answer kill. It's fine. Yeah, so I think I want to talk about why I think it's actually a little bit interesting. Or why I like it, rather. Not why it's interesting, because that's implying it's objectively interesting. I kind of want to talk about my subjective experience and see why I liked it. And it's because it was a good area full of lore and stuff. The gameplay was mostly Who do you think was 6'10"? Who do you think? Same person always is. Anyway, actually not him, by the way. I don't know why your arm wasn't 6'10".
No, so 6'18".
Oh yeah, right
now.
enough. You actually go, yeah, because we funneled all the heroic heroes, right? Sorry.
That's just not true.
I know. What was I talking about? I was talking about the reason I liked the island, and or Siren Isle, let's call it, and it's because the designers put so much effort and care into all of the like details around it that I got to go around and see, and I got to go and look and be like, oh, there's the crystal. Oh my god, the crystal. It's the Belladar like crystal. That's interesting. What's everyone saying about it? What's everyone, what's all these characters thinking about it? What have they got to say about, like, the state of the world and things like that? Here's an undead dragon enemy. How's there an undead dragon under this mountain? What the hell is that about? What are they doing in a cave? How did that get there? God, I don't know. And I'd like to think about that kind of stuff. But all the world design and stuff like I didn't actually pick this up, but the Arizona like mountains, as Jared pointed out in the article that went live on our site earlier today, was that their pedestal or mushroom rocks are called, and the reason they're thinner at the bottom and thicker at the top is because I don't have a joke for that, unfortunately. I was trying to delay, but I didn't have one. It's about moisture in the rocks. In those kind of environments, there's moisture at the bottom of the rocks and like seeping up from below, and wetter rocks are more vulnerable to wind erosion. So strong winds will come through and erode the bottom of the rocks, but not the top. So over time, you get this kind of like thin and then wide at the top kind of structure. I was like, that's interesting because all of the life and stuff blooming below the caverns versus the stormy and arid environments. That explains why there's all this like wet goop in under one of them, as opposed to, you know, being just dry and shit underneath.
So the funny thing is, because this is usually such bread and butter, but in a game like WoW, it's literally like never talked about.
Yeah.
The bit that you enjoy is they put together a well-designed place that's fun to walk around in, where there's attention to detail.
Yeah.
And you feel like you're getting a novel experience.
Especially when you get into the Vrykul tomb. But yes.
The
Vrykul tomb and see all the Kultiran stuff and all the stuff that's missing. Like the way in which the like mine carts and stuff broke. Whenever the crystal either exploded out of the ground or landed there. All this kind of stuff is very, 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 very cool to me.
So that's the thing that's funny, that's kind of interesting.
Also, all the dialogue of like characters talking about everything that's happening is fun to me. The whole world state that they established in The War Within being pushed forward very gently. The whole, okay, well, we're starting to reveal to you piecemeal how this works, how this is like happening. All this stuff is kind of like coming together. How we're gently teasing out the next part of the plot or the themes we're going for. All that stuff, they completely nailed her.
See, to me, that's great, right? Absolutely great. And it's the bit that I think quite a lot of the WoW audience is completely trained to not look at or care about at all. Because and that's where I can sense the tension. Because so many people, they look at that like, oh, reused, another island with a ring. There's a storm on the island with a ring. Oh, terrible. And then the bit that you actually care about is, what did the people build? What's the story that they wove in around all of this?
The mythologizing
There
of
you
Circe's
go.
circlet is fucking 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
So good.
So here's you enjoying it as an overall piece of media.
Don't call me
And
free.
that is not... I mean, that's fundamentally
Normal.
well, that's the strange thing. In other games, that's totally normal.
Yeah.
In other entertainment, that's totally normal. Within World of Warcraft discussion, that's completely abnormal because it's not an island.
Because we're gameplay systems focused and base appearance focused.
It's the catch-up. It's the catch-up island that has rewards for me to get.
It's a catch-up circle full of rares that you can't fly in.
0 out of 10.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think there's ways in which to push that forward as well, like the kind of gameplay and experience with the stormy version of the island is full of elites.
Yes, I like that.
So you have you very, very slowly get ways to make it habitable by yourself, which is basically throughout the process of upgrading the ring and stuff, which is probably going to be a weekly thing. I think they maybe front loaded some of the quests on the PTR, and then whenever it's live it'll be slower, but there's a couple of quests in you unlock basically one of the crowd pummeler things, one of the crowd pummeler mechs as the thing you can use in the stormy island and the stormy variant of it in the phase, and then you can go around and kind of wreck stuff with it.
Cool.
There's crawler mines that you can use. There's it's called nuclear target painter, and it's just like obviously a nuke in StarCraft in real life.
Sounds like slop to me.
Slop. Yeah, and it's you go around the island, and you can't just go around it by yourself on your feet because it hurts. So you go and sort it out with all the items or whatever else, or in a group of 40, whatever. Maybe you turn it into slop yourself through your actions.
So the bit that I think about, like, we're just slowly going through that week to week, chilling out, not thinking about your weeklies, not thinking about any meta brain destruction. That's probably fun whenever you get to go on the mech and blow things up.
Yeah,
And
it is.
progress a little bit faster.
Run around setting a load of Vrykul on fire. This is
Great.
fun. This is cool. Which is weird because I feel like I'm going to have a different experience playing it on live. I feel like I'm playing it properly by doing it on PTR. I should do it when it's at its least finished, just to avoid other players and the fact that it exists in the context of the real world. That's kind of work away. Siren Isle is BFA 8.2 abandoned mine island expedition cut content. The War Within development must be going poorly to recycle slop island expedition content from BFA. It's not recycled because it was never out.
Yeah, that's a fucking moronic statement.
And also,
like, think for a second, please, with your brain.
Yeah.
Not in like I'm cynical and I hate everything mode.
God forbid they save time and energy so they can focus more on the new stuff.
The thing that you've said they have done particularly well and better than most places.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're kind of jumping around a little bit because I had a lot of things I wanted to say specifically. And one is the concept of iteration. The concept of iteration is very, very important in video games. If you look out throughout any of like games that are good now, right? It's an abandoned map. Yeah, abandoned is the keyword. They're like, hey, we've got this perfectly fine ingredient. Why don't we use that? Sweet. Perfect.
Yeah, they didn't use it before.
Yeah. Oh, we got to make things a lot quicker than usual. Hell yeah. What's the downside? None.
And maybe that frees them up to spend effort on the gameplay bit, the world building bit, the set dressing bit, all the things that actually make somewhere feel good when you go there.
And I will also say that it's very interesting because one part of it I really, really liked, which is the inclusion of the Kultirans. Because it was an Azerite mine that the Kultirans were using. And they didn't retcon that out. They didn't replace all the Kultiran architecture in a rush and go, we'll just paint over with whatever else. They went, oh, okay. They were mining Azerite here. What does that mean for these crystals? That's a good question. They don't tell you explicitly. I'm sure they might eventually or hint at it later on towards the end. So it's kind of fascinating that they weave that story in really, really well, where there's a Kultiran expedition that was there, and then that Kultiran expedition went missing. And that is a story that is told to you on the island, throughout a series of quests, going, there were Kultirans here. What happened to them?
Wow, so they're so shameless. They're trying to use a story to pull the wool over the eyes of the honest gamer.
Yeah, that's the interesting part, where I was really surprised at how much effort they put into going, we will make this actually, like, it feels like they were inspired by having that starting point. They're like, oh yeah, well, what were Kultirans here? Okay, who were they with? What were they doing here? What happened to them? How did they feel?
Constraints are creatively useful? What?
Yeah, there was a real, like, because the series of quests ends up in, you piece together kind of what happened mostly. For the most part, there's still like a final mystery. It's like, it's related to the crystals. You'll figure that out, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But it ends with I'm going to say well written, but I'm going to say that with the context that it's good ideas. There's a journal you get at the end that is like the last person who survived there, like writing down
good.
their
I always
experience.
love those.
Yeah, and outside of the fact that it needs a grammar check and spell check really badly, which I think they just don't have the staff to do yet. I know they were hiring someone to do that quite a while ago. I don't know if they filled that post, but it was actually pretty
guys.
bad.
Just use Claude. Just use Claude. It knows World of Warcraft words. Just use Claude. Come on. It's very easy.
And I thought that was genuinely, like, I was like, that was a really enjoyable quest line. That was really fun, and they even use it to.
Sorry, you like, enjoyed a quest.
Yeah, I enjoy most quests in World of Warcraft.
So that's the funny
thing. Unless it's got a blue exclamation mark.
There's times we've talked about stuff, and people are like, oh, that's all slop. I just went through that, and it must feel insane for you, who's paid attention to all the side quests and enjoyed most of them, when other people are like, there's no content there, there's no story, it's just Blizzard being lazy using side quests to tell the story.
Yeah,
which we've consistently had, like, going through video comments, and it's bizarre. It's as if people's, like, I was going to say Wikipedia entry, I don't know, it's as if they're like, their database or whatever hasn't updated since BFA or Shadowlands, and it hasn't adjusted to the way that things have actually changed and got better. Like, with narrative, like, with that being the sort of thing where if you actually give it the smallest amount of effort, you'll actually find real stories there that people are really trying to cook on.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of, to explain the island a little bit, there's a Vraggle tomb, right? And you find out that these Iron Vrykul have actually had this history here, but they're gone too. The only thing that's left of them are these basically memories of them that are given form by the crystal. And you immediately go, huh. There's another case of what's the war within about? It's about evolution, but it's about memory. It's about experience. And you go, okay, here's the themes that they're continuing to work through. This is, in the grand scheme of the war within, it's not a plot point. It will be a plot point in the grand scheme of Beladar and all that shit, but it's not like, fuck it, here's a plot point for the plot. And oh god, oh no, do I go this way?
Okay.
Fuck it, I will, fuck it, I don't give a shit anymore. I was watching Look Back the other week, and in the cinema. There was someone who sat behind me. There were two fellas sitting behind me. And I
was that execution
felt immensely sorry for them.
Oh, good.
At the end of the movie, because they were talking about it when it finished, as the credits were rolling and music was playing, and I was sitting there like, I was there with a friend. I was sitting there, okay, well, I will think about what I just watched, and I heard them talking. I was listening to them, and there's a couple of abstract elements in the movie, in the story, right, that aren't necessarily completely logically sound, but they serve to tell the story. They serve to deliver the purpose of the piece substantially more. And these two guys were so clearly confused, trying to follow it logically, trying to follow it literally, and trying to follow the plot points. And they're like, I don't know what that was about. Didn't really, they were like, that was kind of weird. I'm just like, I'm so sorry that you think that way. Because you were just denied this excellent experience that I had. Because your brain's fucked. Which isn't actually true. Like, it's just like the way people are kind of trained to think when it comes to a lot of things like that. And I was like, I'm trying to follow this logically and with the plot and the trend. And I'm like, fucking
there are a not insubstantial amount who they very much only take things literally.
Plot is not story. They are different things.
Media literacy, modern audience.
It's in the fucking toilet. Oh,
yes.
Jesus, yes. Yeah.
I don't know if there's like a deeper point in anime.
I think
I don't know what's happened. Like, if people have just been, they've just watched like 500 seasons of a shonen and can't think anymore.
No. Okay, there's a lot of anime watchers that are also like complete brainlets, like, for sure. Like the term like shonen meathead, it goes around for a good reason. But I think playing a lot of JRPGs and like watching anime is going to more likely bring you to the abstract side of view of looking at things that way, because it's more heavily used in storytelling, generally speaking.
Just give them some Evangelion.
Yeah, there's a lot of like
those two fellas that struggle with that.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, and you kill like you kill God. You're like, but that doesn't make any sense. You're like, yeah, think laterally, please. Think laterally, please. For the love of God, think laterally. There's a lot of that kind of happens. There's a good example of, if your plot does not make sense, it detracts from the story. If your plot is dumb and doesn't make sense, yeah, but there's a line where you go, well, your plot, obviously, if you're going into more abstract elements or things that don't, like if you go, that didn't make sense, I can't follow it, I must not like it anymore. Like, you're right, but the plot has to, they have to work in concert to serve a purpose. It can't just be wrong for the sake of it. Like, you can't randomly hop in time through like telling a story, and people are like, I don't know. I mean, what's that fucking?
Well, you very often will have people try to say, oh, but it thematically makes sense.
Yeah.
To get around pretty legitimate problems.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, I don't want to go so hard in that direction that that we just sort of wallpaper, like paint over problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But in the context of what this actually means for WoW, I think that there's a lot of what this is doing is very thematically telling and putting stuff really, really well. It's driving all these things forward, and none of this like being abstract or breaking the plot or anything like that. It's like, here's a bit which feels like it's completely unrelated, which is the Iron Vrykul. The Iron Vrykul and the history of the Iron Vrykul there, and Circe herself. Circe the Siren and her circlet, and was it Freyr, the eyes of the siren, the crow, and the crow that made the storm last for 10,000 years. Cool mythological stuff, and you get to see
I
like
can immediately think of several ways in which this ties into likely post 12.0 content.
Yeah, of course.
That's what happens when you read in the game. You start all those things that people skip over and don't look at. No, if you read them, you begin to draw connections.
Yeah, there's a bunch of like different crystal. Here's hoping Sir says crystal have an area of effect. Very good. Very good. Very good. There's a bunch of stuff like that that's littered the whole way throughout. And it's not immediately directly relevant to what Xalatath is doing or what Belador is doing or whatever else. But it is like telling the history of the planet and kind of going, well, these things mattered and we're here for a reason. Here's like the Naga have been involved for all this time. Here's the darkness of the earth. And some of it's very literal with like, it very much reads like a big hint that the crystal eyes of Three-Year is what gave it the power to manipulate the elements to such a fierce degree. But it was in a time of immense emotional distress that it occurred. It was at the end of the war they had. It was a huge amount of like, this is the final resort to try and save what I can, and this let's say inhuman, because it's not a human, like obviously, but you know what I mean, this impossible feat of this like near permanent storm that just comes back and emotionally lashes the place. Sure, magic will make that plot make sense, guys. We'll make that make sense plot wise, but obviously the point is, hang on, you're a Stormcrow and you're saving your Iron Vikel mistress, or attempting to, by doing this. Storming Sea, connected to Odin. Oh yeah, see you're down. You're implying, not telling us, you're implying that Odin had something to do with the Storming Sea in some capacity. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. It is a hint. And you kind of put all this stuff together in your head. You're like, oh yeah, you're telling me a story here. You're not telling me exactly what's happening, but you're telling me the story.
Well, it's good whenever you get a not completely self-contained, but fairly self-contained. It maybe gives you some lessons that you can apply going forward. Or, without going in a lore spiel, thinking about what is there in the island, I think it will be very obvious that we'll think back to the island in 6 months to a year. Thinking about the Storming Sea stuff, thinking about Odin stuff that has all been set up, but probably won't be explored for a little while. I mean, people probably remember Tyr in Dragonflight, so Tyr's active again. Arcadus, the first Titan Keeper that we defeated in Uldaman way back in 2005. We know that it's not like Arcadus isn't completely dead. Arcadus is just disabled.
We deactivated him.
Yeah. But Arcadus is also the keeper that built the Coreway and Dornogal and
Chamber of Heart,
the Chamber of Heart, Chamber of Memory, and all of these things that we see now. So there is something in the future that is cooking around all of these elements between Tyr, Arcadus, Odin, what Matt just said about the Storming Seas. It seems the Storming Seas is the reason, or at least a reason, why once you go way off the map, you can no longer come back. That was established in some of the Emerald Dream lore codex things, wasn't it? Oh, it was established last.
It was what's her name? The dragon who flew across the Storming Sea.
And even that thing of the dragon that flew away across. There's dialogue between Faerun and Anduin. She mentions that there aren't any dragons at home.
Implies,
yeah. She implies there aren't any dragons at home. We can piece together that green dragon from the story did actually make it over there. Did have a clutch, which is hinted at in that story. But then they were likely wiped out or were dead by the time the Arathi Empire gets formed. So, like, that's even just one way where all of these things connect together in a way that, like, once you know them, is completely obvious. I think the struggle that we have, because it's a struggle in telling a story well, is how do we tell that story to people in a way that is digestible? And for Blizzard, well, we can see all the ingredients Blizzard are cooking with, and they are there in the game. It's very hard to depend on people actually knowing about them, though.
Yeah, because
It's a theme park MMO.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a little annoying because this is where, like, there's obviously elements of 11.0.7's gameplay that I'm like, what if... Sure, I'll kill some more, sure. Whatever. And the process of doing that is just slop. Because it's what it is. It's kind of what it is. But there is that joy in, like, the parts of it that you can kind of enjoy for a bit, at least novelty-wise, or, you know, trying to think about why a mob looks like that or what it is.
It's like moving from your golden syrup-flavored porridge to maybe some apple and cinnamon-flavored porridge.
Sure, of course. But I think specifically, I liked that I can't remember her name now. God damn it! It was the designer in the video who talked about the animals there and the wildlife, and talking about, like, the evolution, and talking about, like, the finches, and how the whole point was, you know, there were these finches, and then based off the base finch model in real life, they developed different beaks to like specialize for different things over the course of evolution. And they're talking about, like, okay, well, you're thinking about evolution in terms of what evolutionary pressures made these animals this way on this island. And you think about that for, like, across, you're looking over at, like, the other side of Azeroth, for example, and going, okay, so how are we going to get familiar looking creatures over there, but they're different? What is different about that? And I'm like, that's really fucking good. That's really good world building. And it's a far cry from the world. They're
generally great at that.
It's a far cry from the world of, you know, you take one step across the border and now it's all sand and bugs, which, you know, obviously the original World of Warcraft was built like that, and I think that's fine too.
I'm so nostalgic for it.
Yeah, that's fine too. That's great. If that's how you're building your world, fucking go for it. It's a magic land and it feels big that way, etc., because you imagine the differences in scale, all that kind of stuff. But, like, it's that stuff I wish people could enjoy more. And it's like it's almost the evangelist in me. But, like, I like this thing. Please like this thing.
Yeah.
Ah!
And I guess the bit that's hard is people play the game, because Blizzard makes it that way, of course, via map icons and things. And it's sort of tricky because, you know, there's times where whenever I'm mining, as I'm like to do, I'll just bump into something that's cool. Now, if I was just going from quest marker to quest marker, I never notice any of that. But if I'm just flying about the place mining and then suddenly I just see a little nook or cranny somewhere, that's actually really cool. And in the case of mining, it works because I'm just sort of flying around looking for a mining node. Whereas if you're playing to just knock out all the world quests or, you know, whatever it may be, then that was a particularly loud explosion sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably fireworks. It's probably not an explosion given the time of year.
I imagine fireworks. It is Halloween too. It's people do here. But yeah. What are you saying?
Yeah.
Do you remember? Do you remember it's gone?
It got blown out of my brain.
Yeah, I get it. I imagine someone at Blizzard, there's a Day of the Dead. I don't think that's what they're celebrating here. That's foreigner holiday. Don't know what that is here. We've got Halloween and then we've got leftover fireworks day. That's what we've got.
Yes. Leftover fireworks day, a sacred one for our people.
Yeah.
Oh! Halloween's already happened. That's why people were doing that last night. For some reason I just thought Halloween was still a few days away. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's how like connected I am to Earth. Anyway, go on ahead.
Yeah. I think we kind of talked about. I think we'll move on from talking about, you know, the why I like the patch and why you should all like the patch, because it is a wee bit.
And if you don't, you disagree with him.
Yeah, it's a wee bit narcissistic, isn't it? Like,
Oh no, you're trying to communicate that. Within the thing that certainly looks and smells like things we already know, there's actually lots of really good work that people have done. And
Plenty of
perhaps the bit that overall is a bit tiresome is that it's World of Warcraft, meaning the content fits a certain mold, meaning we expect certain sorts of things, which all too often means you're doing the same gameplay loop as last time, but again, with slightly different bells and whistles around the place, but not something that's fundamentally different. And I think that's probably the core feeling of tiredness that people would have. And you can then go and dip further into some of the more bad faith things, which is not really, there's no point in doing that. But there is a fundamental thing about how WoW is structured. And I guess whenever I talked about mining feels like me doing something in the world, but, I guess I just went a bit Joker mode whenever I talked about super blooms for whatever reason. I think they just have that problem where world content means everyone content, but what it actually ends up being is a tiny theme park in the world, not the world. And maybe the reason why I like mining is that mining feels like world content. It quite makes sense with the world. It feels a little bit more sandbox. And I think that's probably one of their challenges. Is wrapping things up in the weeklies. And the rares being formulaic in the way that they are. They've certainly tried to change things. The way that this zone has got its regular version and then the Storm version full of elites. So, the Mechagon elements, I hope that serves to spice it up for people. But I guess what's really in my head is, how do we get more sandbox in the world of Warcraft? Because I guess as we see the 8-week thing happen, I think we're learning that some things, there's some sorts of content where that's a new ride in the theme park and I enjoy that. Like BRD. But the Codex of Chromie is just teacups. Or, insert really lame ride here. And it doesn't really serve anyone by being there.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's working out what's the threshold at which we do something that is a ride in the theme park. And if we're not going to do a ride in the theme park, how do we do something a bit more sandboxy?
How do we make the cafe very nice? Instead of making a ride that's shite or boring or something. Basically, I'm aiming at the kind of more specifically approach the other genres.
If I was to go very theme park, I would say the difference between Efteling and Six Flags. Which is to say, Efteling is, I think, pretty well renowned for having just like attention to detail, walk around storytelling elements, things that aren't like a ride that you go to, but you just walk around and drink it all in. And even as a cynical fuck, I thought it was pretty damn cool. And the polar opposite of that is Six Flags. Six Flags is just fucking America! We like big coasters! Yes, our roller coasters are on the parking lot, but it's a big roller coaster. Brrr, big. And that's kind of what a Six Flags is like. And like Six Flags is awesome. If you want a coaster that will absolutely, like, I don't know, put your bollocks up your mouth somehow. What does that mean? I don't know. Big rides. Big, crazy, insane rides, right? But no theming. And feeling cheap, you go to Six Flags. And for Six Flags, it works. Because whenever they do a shitty car park ride, a parking lot ride, the ride can actually often be really fucking rad. So it's great and it's fun. But something like Efteling, it's maybe less about the big rides, but it's more about the theming, the walk-around experience, the attention to detail. Which Blizzard can get quite well in aspects of their world design. But I think, the other American example is like, Disney compared to like Six Flags. Just that I don't really respect Disney that much anymore, as has been well documented on this World of Warcraft podcast.
Yeah, the problem is that World of Warcraft was Six Flags, and now it's trying to be Efteling. And I was like, you're doing Efteling really, really well. You're emulating Efteling really, really well.
Yeah, but Codex of Chromie would never go on Efteling. That's the thing.
Yeah, but and then largely speaking, everyone's going wanting Six Flags because they've been trained to want Six Flags. I guess is a part of it.
Yeah.
Where it comes to like how do you how do you? I don't want to say retrain the audiences because that's like your dogs to be trained or some shit. But how do you kind of like?
I mean, there is some of that. I don't mean that in a bad way. We all know situations where we have been in the Skinner box. I've been in the Skinner box. You've been in the Skinner box.
Terrified of Survivors games.
Oh yeah, we've all lived in the Skinner box.
Soulstone Survivors is like just kryptonite to me, man. Fucking scary, terrifying.
And that's the thing with WoW, because we look at this, we're like, that's a really pretty Skinner box, but I know it's just there to give me catch-up loot and a special signet. And it's annoying because that's technically true. It's technically correct.
All things can be true.
Kind of correct.
Did you know that multiple truths can coexist? Wow.
Whoa.
Insane.
True.
Truing.
Which is to say that you can totally see why people feel like they've just seen too many islands and too many things.
Islands,
but then you
definitely
can also
islands
see,
is certainly an issue. Like, but how do you not have islands?
That's it. And then you can see why Blizzard are actually trying here. And I suppose the problem is they talking about the audience training thing. It's like I'd almost want to see them do an island, but go as sandbox as they possibly can. Just sandbox to the tits. Somehow. I don't exactly know how. But I would wonder what like a proper, just an injection of different would be. Because maybe you keep on giving people...
Scary.
Yeah, but like if you keep on giving people 8-week cadence scoped theme park rides, then there's like, guys, this is Teacups 3. I've just ridden Teacups 2 and Teacups 1. I'm nauseous, I'm going to throw up, and now you've given me more teacups. Which certainly, I don't know if you've been doing your Codex of Chromie daily to level your alts.
Or if you've been multi-boxing it for token farms.
That's it. So if you've been doing that, the Codex of Chromie, I don't think you're going to enjoy the new islands. That said, you probably won't enjoy life anymore because your brain might be fried.
Blizzard should hire a time assassin to take out whoever made all the things.
I don't really know if like... I mean, look, the last time I went to find time assassins in LinkedIn, I didn't find any.
Yeah. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think there's an element of the over-justification effect that's really ruined them. I feel like Blizzard need to find a way to wean people off rewards somehow, because it's the only thing they know. It is properly just like, there are no tricks in the book that will work on you except more things.
Hey, do you remember back in the day, people would see a few inches of ankle and practically sploosh.
Practically do the cartoon gif with the dog whose eyes blast out and he wrecks the table and stuff. Yeah,
they would, Matt, cream their britches over a few inches of ankle. Now look at what's happened today.
Yep.
There's something to be said for like, it's all just got more extreme and nobody feels anything anymore. So now it's not enough for that. Oh no. Now you've got to have 13 OnlyFans people on the go at once for some paid DMs, and that's the only way people can get off. It's probably not the only way people can get off, but I do actually make a substantive point within all of that.
Yes. Blizzard have... How do I phrase this? Can I thread this needle? I don't know.
Oh, right through my jugular.
Basically, your fun element doesn't work anymore, so now Blizzard have to, I don't know, put you in the machine. To put you in the machine. Yeah, I can't really get it. Without getting actually demonetized, I can't say anymore. Though I do think
I think everybody knows what we're heavily signaling towards.